President, we have the chairman of the Senate Agriculture Committee here on the floor, and I want to thank him for his tenacity and diligent work on behalf of America's farmers and rural communities. Discussed with the chairman his concerns about the fiscal agreement's crop insurance provisions and their impact on farmers. Concerns which are shared by our counterparts in the House of Representatives. I also have concerns about the changes to crop insurance and what it will mean to the future of farmers in my state. We've got a big agricultural community in Kentucky, and I've certainly heard from them in great numbers over the past couple of days. Farming has been a long tradition in my state. Kentucky's made up largely of smaller family farms, farms that have been passed down generation to generation. These folks rely heavily on the notion that a bad crop yield year will not stop their ability to continue farming because of the certainty provided through this crop insurance program. It's our joint understanding that the House leaders will work to reverse these crop insurance changes and find bipartisan alternative deficit reduction savings when they consider the omnibus appropriation bill later this year. And so I want to assure my friend from Kansas and the other members of our conference who care about this that I'll work closely with him to support the House in these efforts.
Mr. President, will the distinguished leader yield?
I yield the floor. Yeah.
The senator from Kansas.
Mr. President, I rise to engage in this colloquy that our distinguished Republican leader has already mentioned or stressed. I also want to thank our majority whip, the senator from Texas, and the senior senator from South Dakota, Senator Thune, with regard to a commitment made between all of us here. This commitment is in reference to the obvious need to remedy the language adversely affecting our nation's farmers and ranchers now included in the Bipartisan Budget Act. This provision, Section 201, included in the underlying bill, should it go into effect, would greatly damage the crop insurance program as we know it, not to mention the farmers who purchase this crop insurance. The commitment we have reached is to reverse these damaging cuts and policy changes to the crop insurance program in order to protect our producers and their primary risk management tool and their number one priority. All of the talk and the great effort that we had to pass the Farm Bill, 408 days, number one issue to farmers and ranchers in every commodity group, every farm organization, crop insurance. This legislative action, or fix, if we want to call it that, will take place in consideration of the year-end spending bill. I have been working very closely with the House Agriculture Committee Chairman Mike Conaway, who has reached a similar agreement with the House leadership. A tough trail, but Mike got it done. We have all agreed here to restore these funds to the program and reverse this policy and do so with support from the House and Senate. I'd be happy to yield to our distinguished Majority Whip.
Mr. President.
The Majority Whip.
Mr. President, I want to express my gratitude to the Majority Leader and to the Chairman of the Ag Committee here in the Senate, as well as the two senators from South Dakota, Senator Thune and Senator Rounds, for their cooperation and their commitment to address this issue. I particularly want to join the Chairman of the Agriculture Committee, Senator Roberts, in commending Mike Conaway, a good Texan who's Chairman of the House Ag Committee, who I know cares very deeply about this issue. Texas is a huge agriculture state, and 98% of our ag productions are run by families and employs 1 out of every 7 Texans. Texas ranchers and farmers are no stranger to the peril caused by drought and other weather-related events beyond their control. And with the current regulatory environment and unforeseen perils they face, I understand the necessity and the viability of the crop insurance program to their livelihoods. So I just wanted to say that I too stand ready to support our colleagues working together to find a solution to this important problem. I yield the floor.
Mr. President, I yield to my distinguished friend and colleague from South Dakota, the senior senator from South Dakota, Senator Thune.
Is recognized.
Mr. President, I want to thank the senator from Kansas, who is the distinguished chairman of the Ag Committee on which I serve, and as well as the leader and the whip here, and support, rise in support as well of restoring what would be some very devastating cuts to an important program, the crop insurance program, that and the cuts were supposed to be imposed by the budget agreement that was reached and that we're going to be voting on later today. Crop insurance plays a critical role in supporting South Dakota agriculture. It's my state's #1 industry. Crop losses due to drought, wind, hail, and excessive moisture provide the greatest challenges to economic survival and sustainability in production agriculture. And crop insurance provides the only viable risk management tool to meet those challenges. And so it is imperative that we preserve crop insurance and maintain its viability. And the agreement that's been discussed here today, I support on the floor. I'll work with the leader, the chairman, my Senate colleagues, my colleague from South Dakota, Senator Rounds, who's been involved in these discussions, to make sure that we find a reasonable alternative to the unworkable cuts to crop insurance that are found in Section 201 of the Bipartisan Budget Act. So I want to thank the Majority Leader, the whip, chairman of our Ag Committee, for their commitment to our farming families and rural economies across this great country, and also those who have worked in the House to come to a point where we can have this discussion and move forward in a way that will preserve what is a very important program for production agriculture in this country. And I would ask the chairman of the Ag Committee, Senator Roberts, through the President, if the House has reached a similar agreement in terms of the discussion that we're having here in the Senate today.
Mr. President, I thank my friend for the question. I respond to my friend that yes, Chairman Mike Conaway has reached a bipartisan agreement with the House leadership and also the chairman of the Appropriations Committee, Mr. Rogers from Kentucky, that there is a bipartisan agreement with the House leadership. So it is time for the Senate to respond. I also want to echo the comments of the senior senator from South Dakota with the help of Senator Rounds, and I would be remiss in not mentioning virtually every member of the Ag Committee that has been involved in this effort as well. So I appreciate the work of my colleagues and the work of our ranking member, Senator Stabenow. I especially want to thank her for also raising this issue and helping to find an agreement. I want to note that I have worked my entire career to build crop insurance as a public-private partnership that best protects our producers and taxpayers and consumers, not to mention a very hungry and malnourished world. This agreement reached today continues in that effort to fulfill that mission. I thank the Majority Leader, the Majority Whip, and Senator Thune for their commitment. I also thank many of our colleagues who helped us reach this solution today. Mr. President, I yield the floor.